My group and I weren't able to get together. We had scheduling conflicts with our work schedules. One of us works nights and things like that. So I'm doing this role play alone. Um, I'm not necessarily going to do a role play, but I'm going to use very personal situations that I believe apply to this and kind of use the information that we've learned thus far in our course. Um, the first situation I want to speak on is the assignment that you gave us in one of our discussions and talking about somebody that we knew who had substance abuse issues. My sister is right now in, I would say, her contemplation and action phase. She knows she needs help. She's gotten help before. She's gone to rehab. She's currently an alcoholic as well as taking methamphetamines. She probably weighs about 70 pounds. She lives in Texas. She's in a very abusive relationship, both verbal and physical at times. Our family has had very traumatic situations when we were younger, and more recently, my nephew committed suicide, and he was living with her for quite some time prior to this happening. She said it was around that time that she started using, and it got more and more severe as days went. Because we live in different states, we've always been very close, but we don't talk as much face to face any longer. So it was hard for me to see the signs and symptoms or to understand what she was going through because we didn't talk as much as we had prior. She just called me a couple weeks ago and told me that she started drinking a lot again and that her daughter-in-law didn't want to let her grandchildren around her anymore because her drinking was getting to the point where she was blacking out. She was incoherent, was getting very aggressive, not necessarily with the kids, but in topics and having conversation with her daughter-in-law and her kids and things like that. She called me and she said she had been in rehab already for months, and she thought she had broken that barrier, that she was getting tempted to use again because nothing she was doing was right and she didn't understand, and she was better off being in rehab and away from everyone. And what I've learned so far, I try to use what I've learned this so far. So at no point did I voice my opinion. I would just ask her, like, what do you mean? Like, why do you think that you going away? Because she didn't necessarily say rehab. She said she wanted to just go away because she'd be better off. So I asked her, so why do you think you would be better off? And she just said that she didn't want anybody angry with her anymore. She was just tired. She was tired of feeling like she had to fight with people. She was tired of people telling her what to do and when to do it, or, always worrying about her. So obviously, like, I did the listening part and I listened to everything she said, and I asked her, besides everybody else and what I think or what her mom thinks or her husband, what she thought would be the best thing to do for her. Like, what do you want to do? What is going to make you feel better right now? And she said that she wanted to stop drinking because she could feel it, like her body, not necessarily shutting down. She just said that she was always tired. My sister has a very, she loves to work. She has a very good work ethic. And she said that was going away. She didn't, she didn't want to do the things that she was doing anymore, and she didn't like feeling that way. She didn't like the fact that she wasn't going to be able to see her grandkids anymore. And I told her, I said, you have to, do what's best for you, and I can help you. I can help you find a therapist. I know it's far away, but she's like, I know you're taking these classes and I just need you to help me. But I told her, like, I'm not at that point. And even if I was, because you're family, like, I can't help you, but I can point you in the right direction to get the help that you need. With that being said, I have my own personal therapist here in California. I reached out to her, let her know the situation, let her know how she was feeling. And thankfully, my therapist here in California is licensed in Texas as well. She reached out to her and she was able to get her in an AA meeting and an outpatient treatment center. And the doctor that she spoke to was able to get her on some medications to help her through detoxing, and she started her therapy in AA. That was about the end of March that she went through all of this. And I think that knowing like the phases of where she was at and asking her if she was ready to change, how she wanted to change, what she thought would be best for her, and where she needed to be. Did she need to go away to get away from her husband? Did she need to get away because she did need more of a support system? And she didn't want to be away from her kids because they're there, but she knew she wanted to be away from her husband. And getting the support from AA and the treatment center, she was able to find almost like an outpatient living, like a home type of place to be while her medication was kicking in and treatment was started. So I feel that having taken especially this course and the last course I just took, knowing the right things to say at the right time, and I didn't always say them the right way, but she was like, you're the only person I can talk to that doesn't tell me what to do or say, oh, you need to do this or this and that is going to happen to you. She was like, I know the consequences, but I just can't quit. Or if I quit or if I don't drink today, this is how I feel. So with that being the first scenario, being in that pre-contemplation action phase, it was easy for her to know what she wanted to do to help herself, and she knew that she wasn't strong enough to do it alone. And her just reaching out to me and me being able to get her the resources she needed to start making steps in the right direction made me feel better, knowing that at least she had somebody to talk to that wasn't going to judge her or make her feel worse than she was already feeling. The next scenario is a situation that I know you're aware of, and me losing my grandson. In 2012, when I was going through my divorce, I was drinking pretty heavily, and I was having a rough time with that. And just going with the recent loss, I do drink very, very seldomly, a glass of wine here and there when that happened. That week I saw myself starting to drink more and things like that, and thankfully I have spiritually evolved and haven't necessarily gone back into church and things like that, but I read the Bible every day, I read scripture every day, and I've built my own relationship back with God and things like that. And I found myself drinking more and going through the situation. I had to really pray because I noticed that every day I was drinking, it was hard for me to work. It was hard for me to do my homework. It was hard to focus. And going through these courses and doing this work, like I noticed that even somebody who is aware of things can let themselves slip, and we have to remind ourselves of what's important and things that we can't change and we can't avoid. And so I had a hard time. It's been I think I quit drinking completely in 2015. So it's been about 8 years since I drank like every day. I was drinking every single day. So I found myself drinking again, and it was almost like in my head, oh my gosh, I'm relapsing, because I couldn't, to go to sleep, and I know that the liquor is, I'm basically passing out, not necessarily, but I couldn't sleep. I was having a hard time sleeping. I was kind of withdrawing. I didn't even go to like 2 of my therapy appointments during that time, which I knew I should have, but it was just a lot. And watching my daughter go through that and trying to help her emotionally, it was almost like you put your emotions on the back burner to make sure that your family is okay. So it was almost, and I told myself, it's almost like I'm relapsing. Like, I wasn't a huge alcoholic, but I did have a drinking problem to the point where my kids told me they didn't want to come home from their dad's house anymore because of how I was drinking. Like, they didn't want to come see me on my days because of my drinking. So I found myself, she lost the baby Easter Day, and I had gotten my bereavement from work, so I knew I didn't have to work, so I was drinking in the morning, and just because I was tired. And she lives down in Rancho Cucamonga. I live here in the high desert, so I was driving back and forth to check on her every day while she was in the hospital and staying down there with her. So I found, it's been really, really hard, and I had to take a moment. I had to take an extra day off of work. That's why I wasn't communicating too much with my schoolwork and things like that, and reflect and, have a moment to pray. And, I was letting my schoolwork get behind, my work get behind, my housework getting behind. And I was either with her or I was not coming home right away so that I could go have a drink and just, be in my own emotions. And in doing so, I feel that all of these life problems that we have will make us more sympathetic to our clients in the future. I haven't had anything to drink since last weekend because I fasted for a day. I prayed and I fasted for 24 hours and kind of just had to reset myself once my daughter got home from the hospital so that I could get myself back. And going through this course has made me realize how difficult it is for people who are taking stronger substances for longer periods of time. And having that empathy and understanding the steps and understanding the frustration and understanding how something like losing somebody can set you back so far, and you forget, and you don't do it intentionally to hurt anybody, but it's because I don't know if it's a mental, like you know that you felt okay because it numbs your feelings and you don't deal with them. And that's the hardest thing for a lot of people, to deal with what they're feeling and grief. And like my sister, dealing with disappointing people. So these interventions and these role plays are very important, because for me, I have to learn how to control my emotions when I'm talking to clients. I have to learn how to be able to help them work through things to get to the point where they want to be, because not everybody has this education the way I do, or these skills that we've learned, for me to recognize that, okay, I'm starting to drink too much. And so I'm hoping this reflection on my own situations and my own life will help me in the future be a better clinician. I hope that was something that was what you wanted as far as doing a role play. I just decided to do my own life scenarios, and almost like a therapy session for myself, to be able to kind of express this to you. And I am back in therapy and things like that, but I didn't want to get further behind in my work, and so this was my video for that.